All right, let's dive right into this explainer and demystify the absolute sprawling timeline of Middle-earth. If you've ever found yourself totally lost in J.R.R. Tolkien's universe, well, you already know it's a deeply layered world. Today, we're going to connect the events of The Hobbit directly to The Lord of the Rings, fusing them into one massive, unbroken historical continuum.
We really have to start by asking kind of a wild question. How exactly did a simple burglar's errand spark a world-ending war? I mean, it's incredible to think that a tiny moment of pity during Bilbo Baggins' adventure, literally just sparing a miserable creature in a dark cave, ultimately set the board for an apocalyptic conflict and, paradoxically, saved the entire world. Let's look at exactly how that all played out.
To keep us on track, we're going to follow a 6-part roadmap. We'll trace the timeline from the quest for Erebor to finding the One Ring, the Gathering Shadow, the Fellowship setting forth, the journey to Mordor, and finally, how the Third Age ends.
Part 1. The Quest for Erebor. Our story kicks off with the status quo in the peaceful, pastoral Shire. The year is 2941 of the Third Age. Bilbo Baggins is living a super comfortable, completely unambitious life until the wizard Gandalf the Grey enlists him, very reluctantly I might add, to act as a burglar. His mission? To help Thorin Oakenshield and 12 other dwarves reclaim their ancestral home, the Lonely Mountain, and its massive treasure hoard from the fearsome dragon, Smaug.
Now, this era brings a pretty massive tonal shift in the story itself. The Hobbit was originally written back in 1937 as a lighthearted, episodic fairy tale. But The Lord of the Rings? That was written in stages during and after World War II, and it's a much, much darker epic. The shadow of real-world global warfare deeply influenced the narrative, right? It shifted the whole vibe from a whimsical adventure to a desperate, gritty struggle for survival against true evil.
Moving to Part 2, Finding the One Ring. This is where we hit a critical pivot point in our timeline. During the dwarves' journey, the company tries to cross the Misty Mountains. They get captured by goblins, and in the chaotic escape, Bilbo is completely separated from the dwarves, deep underground.
Lost in the pitch black, Bilbo stumbles upon a simple-looking ring. But to understand what he actually found, we have to look at this ancient poem. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne. That little trinket Bilbo casually slipped into his pocket in a goblin tunnel? Yeah, it was the terrifying centerpiece of this very legend.
Because the One Ring isn't just jewelry, it is an enormously powerful and inherently evil talisman. Bilbo thought he merely found a really handy invisibility trick. He was completely unaware it was actually the ultimate weapon forged by the Dark Lord Sauron. Sauron desperately needed this specific ring to plunge Middle-earth back into darkness, and the craziest part is, the ring itself actively wants to be found.
Part 3. The Gathering Shadow. After Bilbo successfully helps reclaim Erebor and heads back home, we enter this fascinating interquest gap. These are the vital, quiet decades where the shadow of Sauron is gathering strength in the east, while the ring just sits safely tucked away in the peaceful Shire, biding its time.
Now, laying out this timeline clears up so much confusion, especially if you've only seen the movies. Bilbo's quest happens in 2941. It isn't until 60 years later, in 3001, that he celebrates his 11th birthday and leaves the ring to his nephew Frodo. But wait, Frodo doesn't leave the Shire immediately. There's actually a grueling 17-year gap between Bilbo leaving and Frodo finally departing in 3018. For 17 whole years, Gandalf is frantically researching the ring's true identity, riding all over Middle-earth and scouring ancient scrolls.
Part 4. The Fellowship sets forth. By the year 3018, Gandalf finally confirms the terrifying truth. Frodo's inheritance is, in fact, Sauron's One Ring. Hunted by the dreaded Nazgul, the Ringwraiths, Frodo flees the Shire. He eventually makes it to the elven sanctuary of Rivendell, where a massively important council is held to figure out what to do with Middle-earth.
And from that council emerges the Company of the Ring. These 9 companions purposefully unite to represent the free peoples of Middle-earth. We've got 4 hobbits, 2 men, an elf, a dwarf, and a wizard. It's quite the mismatched hiking group, honestly, but they rally together with one seemingly impossible goal: give Frodo a fighting chance to carry the ring directly into Sauron's domain and destroy it right in the fires of Mount Doom, the exact place it was forged.
It's really fascinating how history rhymes here when you compare the parallel hero journeys of Bilbo and Frodo. Both start out at Bag End.
Both face a super perilous mountain crossing, Bilbo through the Goblin Tunnels and Frodo through the much deadlier mines of Moria where Gandalf ends up battling the Balrog, and both end in a massive climax. The geographic movement basically repeats itself, but the consequences for Frodo scale up astronomically.
To put that scale into perspective, just look at the sheer distance. Bilbo walked approximately 900 miles to Erebor. Frodo and his loyal friend Sam trekked nearly double that, around 1,779 miles. And remember, they're doing this without modern hiking boots, all while under immense, crushing psychological pressure from an inherently evil artifact that is actively trying to corrupt their minds.
Part 5. The Journey to Mordor. So the Fellowship successfully travels down the River Anduin, but the corrupting allure of the ring is just too strong. It ends up tempting the man, Boromir, which forces Frodo to realize the ring is a fatal danger to his friends. Because of this, the group is forced to splinter. We can actually track these splintered paths step by step. First, Frodo and Sam break off to travel alone toward Mordor, guided by the treacherous Gollum. Second, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli embark on a rescue mission that pulls them into massive wars defending Rohan and Gondor. And third, Merry and Pippin escape capture and manage to rouse the ancient tree shepherds, the Ents. What's amazing here is that all these giant battles fought by Frodo's friends served one ultimate strategic purpose: to draw Sauron's eye and his armies completely out of Mordor, leaving a clear path for Frodo.
Part 6. The Third Age ends. We finally arrive at the climax of our historical arc, deep within the toxic volcanic fires of Mount Doom. The armies of man are fighting a totally hopeless distraction battle outside the Black Gate, while Frodo stands right at the precipice of the fire.
And here is the tragic, beautiful irony of the entire saga. At the very last possible moment, Frodo's willpower finally breaks. He claims the ring for himself, but because Bilbo Baggins had shown pity and spared Gollum's life 78 years earlier in a dark goblin tunnel, Gollum is there. Gollum attacks Frodo, bites the ring right off his hand, and inadvertently falls into the fiery abyss. The ring is destroyed, and Sauron is utterly vanquished. Which brings us to 3021. In the year 3021 of the Third Age, the era officially comes to a close. The ring-bearers, Bilbo, Frodo, and the elven keepers like Gandalf and Galadriel board a ship at the Grey Havens and depart Middle-earth forever. With the ring gone, the power of the elves fades, and the age of magic gracefully bows out to make way for the dominion of men.
As magic fades and the Fourth Age begins, it leaves us with a really powerful question. What lessons will we carry from the courage of hobbits? Tolkien's ultimate thesis is crystal clear here. It isn't always the mighty warriors or the powerful wizards who shape the world. More often than not, it's the smallest individuals, armed with nothing but simple courage, loyalty, and pity, who change the course of history. So as Middle-earth steps into the Age of Men, how will you shape yours? Thanks for joining me on this journey. I'll catch you next time.